Here we go, let's see. I think this one might be it. Yeah. Are you ready? It's time. It's time. It's time for the Grinch that stole Christmas, all right? Here we go. Oh, I think we're going to sing first. Who knows Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer? Who is going to be able to sing good and loud from right where you're at, all right? And how do we sing loud? We sing loud, right? I'm going to say Merry Christmas. You say, I say Merry, you say Christmas. Merry? 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 All right, here we go. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. I want you to pay close attention. Here we go, here we go, here we go. Sing for me. Are you going to sing? Please sing. There we go. There's Dasher and Dancer and Prancer and Vixen.
You know Dasher and Dancer and Prancer.
Let me see if I can get this right. Comet and Cupid and Donner and Blitzen. But do you recall? Here we go. Who's the most famous reindeer of all? Rudolph. Here we go.
Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer had a very shiny nose.
Clap right here.
Then if you ever saw it, you would even say it glows
Like a light bulb.
All of the other reindeers used to laugh and call him names. They never let poor Rudolph join in any reindeer games.
Keep clapping. Let's put it up here.
Rudolph, with your nose so bright, won't you guide my sleigh tonight? Then how the reindeer loved him as they shouted out with glee, Yippee! Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer, you'll go down in history.
Now here is the part that they have the music and no singing. But what do we do when we hear music? Who's got their big Rudolph dance ready? Who can dance like Rudolph? Huh? Come here, show me your Rudolph dance. Show me your Rudolph dance. Alright, very good, very good. Who's got a better Rudolph dance? Who's got another Rudolph dance back there? Woohoo! Look at this one. Who's got another Rudolph dance? Yeah, show me your Rudolph dance. That's good. Everybody try this one right here. Here we go. Let's do this. Do this. All right, try this one right here. Watch this. And then one more time. Whoa, whoa. Here we go. Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer. And if you ever saw it, you would even say it like a light bulb. All of the other reindeer used to laugh and call him names like Pinocchio. They never let poor Rudolph join in any reindeer games. Then one foggy Christmas Eve, Santa came to say,
Rudolph, with your nose so bright, won't you guide my sleigh tonight? Then how the reindeer loved him as he shouted out with yippee! Rudolph the red-nosed reindeer, you'll go down in history. Very good. Give yourself a hand. Round of applause. Yay! All right. Let's sing one more song. We got 2 more songs. Who knows who this guy is? You guys are awesome. Let's see if we can sing Frosty the Snowman, all right? Here we go, here we go, here we go. Pay attention. Frosty the Snowman. It's kind of funny music, isn't it? Frosty the Snowman was jolly happy soul, with a corncob pipe, a button nose, and 2 eyes made out of coal. Frosty the Snowman was fairy tale, they say. He was made of snow, and the children know how he came to life one day. There must have been some magic in that old silk hat they found, for when they placed it on his head, he began to dance around. Frosty the Snowman was alive as he could be, and the children say he could laugh and play just the same as you and me. Thump, thump, thumpity, thump, thump, look at that Frosty go. Thumpity, thump, thump, thumpity, thump, thump, over the hills of snow.
Frosty the Snowman knew the sun was hot that day.
And he said, let's run, and we'll have some fun now before I melt away. Down to the village with a broomstick in his hand, running here and there all around the square, saying, catch me if you can. He led them down to the streets of town, right through a traffic cop. And he only paused a moment when he heard him holler, very good, Frosty the Snowman had to hurry on his way. And he said goodbye, saying, don't you cry, I'll be back again someday. Let me hear you. Look at that Frosty go. Thumpity, thump, thump, thumpity, thump, thump, over the hills of snow. Very good. All right, there's Frosty the Snowman. Give yourself a round of applause. Let's get it! All right, here we go. One more song. Who knows who this guy is? Santa Claus. Who knows the song Santa Claus is coming to town? Anybody? Anybody? All right, Bueller, anybody? All right, here we go. Santa Claus is coming to town. Wait for it. Wait for it. Here we go. Santa Claus is coming to town. This is a very long introduction. Talk amongst yourself if you want. There he is. There's only 7 reindeer. I don't know what's going on there. Are you ready? Ready? Here we go. Watch out, you better not cry, you better not pout, I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town. Here we go, he's making a list, checking it twice, gonna find out who's naughty or nice. Santa Claus is coming to town. Hey, he sees you when you're sleeping, he sees you when you're sleeping, he knows when you're awake. He knows it, let's do this, bad or good, so be good for goodness sake. Oh, you better watch out, you better not cry, you better not pout, I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town. He sees you when you're sleeping, he knows when you're awake. He knows if you've been bad or good, so be good for goodness sake. Oh, you better watch out, you better not cry, you better not pout, I'm telling you why. Santa Claus is coming to town. All right, give yourself a round of applause. Yay! Oh, look at Santa
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Santa Claus is in the snow. All right. Well, it has come that time now, friends. I want you to look at your neighbor and say, Merry Christmas. All right. Now it's time for How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Yes. Every Who down in Whoville loved Christmas a lot. But the Grinch who lived just north of Whoville, he did not. The Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now please don't ask me why. No one really quite knows the reason. It could be that his head wasn't screwed on just right. Could be perhaps that his shoes were just a little too tight. But I think the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 times too small. Whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on the Christmas Eve, hating the Who's, staring down from his cave with a sour, grinchy frown at the warm lighted windows below in the town. For he knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was busy now hanging tinsel and wreath. And they're hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow is Christmas, it's practically here. Then he growled with his Grinch fingers nervously drumming. I must find some way to stop Christmas from coming. For tomorrow he knew all the Who boys and Who girls would wake bright and early to rush for their toys. Uh-oh, there he is. And then all the noise, that's one thing he hated. The noise. Then the Who's, young and old, would sit down to feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast. They would feast on Who pudding and rare wild roast beast, which was something the Grinch couldn't stand in the least. And then they'd do something the least likely of all. Every Who down in Whoville, the small and the tall, would stand together with Christmas bells ring. They'd stand hand in hand, and the Who's would start singing. They'd sing, and they'd sing, and they'd sing. And the more the Grinch thought of this Christmas sing, the more the Grinch thought, I must stop this whole thing. Why? For 53 years, I've put up with it now. I must stop Christmas coming. But how? Then he got an idea. Then the Grinch got an awful idea. I know just what to do. And the Grinch laughed in his throat, and he made a quick Santa Claus hat and a coat. And he chuckled, what a great Grinchy trick. With this coat and this hat, I'll look just like Saint Nick. All I need is a reindeer. And the Grinch looked around, but since the reindeer are scarce, there was none to be found. Did that stop the old Grinch? Oh no, the Grinch simply said, if I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead. So he called his dog Max. Then he took some red thread. Yes, there you go, thank you. And he tied a big horn to the top of Max's head. Then he looked and took some bags and some old empty sacks. On an old ramshackle sleigh, he hitched up his old dog, Max. Well, then the Grinch said, giddy up! And the sleigh started down toward the homes where the Who's lay snooze in their town. All their windows were dark and quiet. Snow filled the air. All the Who's were dreaming sweet dreams without care. When he came to the first little house on the square, this stop is number 1, the old Grinchy Claus hissed, and he climbed to the roof, empty bags in his fist. Then he slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch, but if Santa could do it, so could the Grinch. He got stuck only once, for a moment or two, and then he stuck his head out of the fireplace flue, where the little Who stockings all hung in a row. These stockings, he grinned. They'll be the first to go. Then he slithered and he slunk with a smile most unpleasant. Around the whole room, he took every present. Pop guns and bicycles, roller skates and drums, checkerboards and tricycles, popcorn and plums. He stuffed them in bags. Then the Grinch very nobly stuffed all the bags up one by one up the chimney. Then he slunk to the icebox refrigerator, you know. He took the Who's Feast, he took the Who Pudding, he took the Roast Beast. He cleaned out the refrigerator as quick as a flash. Why, that Grinch even took their last can of Who hash. Then he stuffed all the food up the chimney with glee. And now, grinned the Grinch, I'll stuff up the tree. And the Grinch grabbed the tree and he started to shove when he heard a small sound like a coo of a dove. Coo, coo. He turned around fast and he saw a small Who. Little Cindy Lou Who. She was not even more than 2. The Grinch had been caught by this tiny Who daughter who had gotten out of bed for a cup of cold water. She stared at the Grinch and said,
Santa Claus, why are you taking our Christmas tree? Why?
But you know that old Grinch, he was so smart and so slick. He thought of a line, he thought of it quick. He says this, why, my little tot, the fake Santa Claus lied. There's a light on this tree that won't light on one side. So I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there and I will bring it back here. And so this fit fooled the child. Then he patted her on the head, pat, pat. And he got her a drink of water and he sent her off to bed. And when Cindy Lou had went to bed with her cup, he went to the chimney. He stuffed the tree up. Then the last thing he took was a log for the fire. Then he went up the chimney himself, that old liar. And on their walls, he left nothing but some hooks and some wire. And the one speck of food that was left in the house was a crumb that was even too small for a mouse. Squeak, squeak. Then he did the same thing to the other Who's houses, leaving crumbs much too small for the other Who's mouses. It was 15:15 dawn. All the Who's still in bed. All the Who's still a snooze. When he packed up his sled. Packed it up with their presents, the ribbons and the wrappings, the tags and the tinsel, the trimmings and the trappings. 3,000 feet up. Yeah, up to Mount Trumpet. He rode with his load to the top to dump it. Pull, pull to the Who's, he grimacely humming. They're finding out now that Christmas isn't coming. They're just waking up, I know. I know just what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open for a minute or two. And then the Who's down in Whoville will all cry, boo, hoo. That's a noise, the Grinch, that I simply must hear. So he paused, and the Grinch put his hand to his ear. And he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started in low, and then it started to grow. But the sound wasn't a sad sound. Why, this sound sounded merry. It couldn't be so, but it was merry, very. He stared down at Whoville. The Grinch popped his eyes. Then he shook. What he saw was a shocking surprise. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, was singing without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas coming. It came. Somehow or another, it came just the same. And the Grinch, with his Grinch feet ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so? It came without ribbons. It came without bags. It came without boxes and packages and bags. And he puzzled 3 hours till his puzzle was sore. And then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't thought of before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more. And what happened next? Well, in Whoville they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 times that day. And the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed with his load through the bright morning light. And he brought back the toys and the food for the feast. And he himself, the Grinch, carved the roast beast. The end. Well, thank you, boys and girls. Thank you, friends, for coming today. I am Mr. Walt, and I used to be in this building. I used to work in this building right where you're at. And all of your teachers and everybody, I know them, and now I know you, and you know me. What's my name? Awesome. So on behalf of Mr. Walt and my son, my baby boy, Mr. Jared, we wish you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. All right? Thank you all. Merry Christmas. Wait for your teachers to dismiss you. Thank you very much.